Hey, my ninjas. Thank you for coming to another tutorial. Like always, click that like button, click that subscribe button. I would very much appreciate if you do. So, like I said, thank you guys for coming. I've I've been asked this question lots of times, and this is the reason why I decided to do this video. I did a tutorial about a year back regarding Laravel and AWS and how to set that environment up. And the question that I got most was how do I set up my workflow as far as how do I, when I do set up a Laravel environment that's live, how do I interact with it? So the best way to interact with that and the professional way to do that is to create your own local environment on your machine, and that environment has to mimic the live site. So this tutorial is basically set up to how to create your local environment, and this is going to be a full working local environment. This is not going to be just connecting to FTP, editing the file, pushing them up, or just having like a Git repository, editing and then pushing. We want to see the results locally as well. So I'm going to take you through that process. Let's just, enough talking. Let's just jump right into it. This is going to be a cool tutorial, and I hope that you guys like it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to install an application called XAMPP. So we're going to search for something called XAMPP, and the first link should give us what we want. And if it doesn't, here is the URL that you will need to get to where I'm at right now. And once you are here, you want to click the download, and you want to scroll down to XAMPP for OS X. By the way, I'm using a Mac, and I'm going to go in here and just show you the OS I'm using. I'm using the latest OS. So if you're using the latest OS, then you should be fine. If you're using an older version, you should still be fine. If you have any issues, just, send me a comment. If you're using Windows, you still should be fine. There might be some things that are a little different, but you should be able to Google them and find them very easily. So what we want to do is we want to install this XAMPP. Now you want to be careful because we don't want to install this version, the VM/PHP, which stands for virtual machine. We do not want to install that version. We want to install the latest PHP version, which is here. And what this program is going to do is just going to install a LAMP environment on your computer. So it's going to make it very easy to be able to, out of the box, just get going. And that's what it's all about, making your life easy. So what you want to do is click this download button. I've already clicked it, so I'm not going to do that. When you do click it, you should find it in your downloads folder. And it should look something like this. You want to double click that and just go through the default setup. Leave everything that's default checked and just keep on clicking next until it installs. And now straight out the box, XAMPP is set up to work. All you have to do is just start the services, the Apache. If you're using MySQL, start those services. And it makes it real easy to do so. If you go into browse through your applications, you should see an XAMPP folder or an XAMPP icon that looks like this, Manager OS X. You click on that, and this is the way it looks, guys. Starting your Apache, yours might not say running. If it doesn't say running, then you could start it, and if it is running, then you're all good. Like I said, straight out the box, it's already set up to work. And what you can do is you can browse through applications, XAMPP, And this folder right here, this htdocs folder, anything that you actually copy in here, that you create in here, is going to be live. And in order to see what you put in here, all you have to do is type in localhost on in your browser /, let's say you create a folder here called my site, and it's going to access that. However, we don't want to use the default structure. I don't think this is very functional. So we're going to set this up to use vhost, and that's going to allow us to create multiple projects, and it's going to be able, and it's going to allow us to organize it well. Not only that, but we're going to be able to use a domain in order to access our projects. What do I mean by that? I'm going to show you. So I've gone ahead and I've created a folder, www, over here in my local machine, where all my other folders are, movies, downloads, pictures, etc. Created this www folder. And then in that folder, this is where I'm going to house all my projects, you know, projects, websites, whatever you want to call them. You don't have to follow this structure. This is just what I'm doing. So I created another folder called mysite.local. And in this folder, I have this index file. Okay. So the goal is to type in some type of domain and in a browser and access this index.php file. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go back into our applications, XAMPP, and then this time we want to click this etc. And we want to open this httpd.conf file in your IDE or in some kind of notepad or text editor. That's the first file we want to open. Then we want to go into this extras folder, and we want to open this vhost file, httpd/vhosts.config file. Same thing, open it in the IDE or notepad. I already have both of them open here. So once you got those open, we're going to go into this httpd.conf file, and we're going to scroll down to the area where you find this set, the user and the group. Yours is going to have it set to daemon, and we want to change that. You want to change these settings to reflect the settings in our machine. And the way we find those settings are, we actually created those folders that so we created that www. So you want to cd into the folders that we just created, that www, and then in there there's a cd mysite.local. Once you cd into that folder that you created that has the index file, you want to do an ls-l, and it's going to show you the user we need to use and the group. So if you look at my httpd conf file, I have the user Oscar Ramos and the group staff. So now this is going to allow me to have privileges to access the files in here using XAMPP. Once you do that, you want to do a find and search for vhosts, and this is what we're looking for right here. This section right here. On your file, you're going to have this line commented out. You want to uncomment that line, and then you want to save it. And this is basically just saying that we want to use vhosts, and so we're basically including this file, and this is the file that it's going to look for when we type in our domains and whatnot. So the next file that you want to edit is the vhost file. And this is where all the magic happens. So this is we need to set this up. This is like the default settings right here that we need to set up. You're probably not going to see this on your end, but this is how you want it to look on your end. So we need to set up this virtual host first. And then the next one we're setting up is the one that we are using to access that index file that I was talking about earlier. Now let's take a look at this. We have a document root, and here this is just the URL to that folder, my site that I created, .local. And then the next line, this is where this is just so great. When I first figured out how to do this, or when somebody showed me how to do this, I was just ecstatic. So this is the domain right here, and this is a local domain. And the reason why I make it .local is because these domains can override live domains. And what I mean by that is, let's say I named this www.google.com and I set it up that way. If I went into a browser and I typed in google.com, instead of getting Google, we're actually going to hit this local file that we created here, that instead of hitting Google, this one right here. So I hope you understand that. So what I do is, let's say I had a site out there called mysite.com. Instead of making the domain .com, I make it .local. So I know that I'm working on my local copy or viewing my local copy on the browser. And when I type in .com, I'm looking at the .com copy. Okay, so the next setting is, it's basically an alias. It's the same domain, just without the www in front of it, so that if we type in my site.local, we still hit the same file. If we type in www.mysite, we hit that file. And then this is just for like privileges as well, this directory. And as you can see, we are using this and this are the same. This URL and this URL are the same. So once we configure this, the next step is to edit our host file to have this domain. So how do we edit our host file? We go into our command prompt again and we type in sudo nano etc host. Enter. Type in the password. Okay. And here, let me just delete all this stuff here. We don't need this. Just to make this a little bit clear. Okay, so what we want to do is we type in 127.0.0.1 and then we tab over and then we type in the domain that matches the domain we created in the host. And if we have an alias, then we have to enter to the next line and type in that alias. Then we're going to click Control X. It's going to ask to save. We're going to say yes, click Y, then enter again, and now that file is saved. Once we do this, we have to come back here to our XAMPP manage servers, and we have to restart Apache because we made some changes. So anytime we change these files, these vhost files, the httpd config file, or the host file, we got to restart Apache for that to take effect. And there we go, we restarted. So now, guys, this is where things start to become a little clearer. So I have over here in my IDE that this is the folder that I created. This is the index file, and the index file says hello world. Okay, so now if I copy this domain, right, and then I open a browser and I type this domain in a browser, look what happens. Look what happens. So do you understand what's going on here? I'm typing in a domain, a full domain here, and I'm accessing the site locally. Now, if I type this domain in any other computer, I would get an error because this is only working locally. So I can basically create multiple projects and just, you know what, for the sake of argument, let's take this a step further. I'm going to take this a step further, guys. I'm going to come back here just to give you an idea of what's going on here. So I'm going to go back into my www folder and I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call this my new site. And that's it. Just for the sake of not confusing you, when the folder doesn't need to be the same name as the domain that we create on this vhost. This could be any name you want. So for the sake of not confusing you, I'm going to make this folder and I'm going to call it my new site. So if I go here, my IDE should pick it up. Yes, it does, my new site. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a file, an index file. Index. And I'm going to echo out hello new world. Yeah, that's not how you spell hello. Save that. Okay. So I created a new folder. In this folder, there's an index file, right? So what's the next thing we do? We go into this vhost file and we have to create a vhost here. And how we do that is we copy a working vhost, right? We paste it. And then we just make the changes to each of these things. So over here, we're going to call this my new site, right? And then we're going to say the same thing here, my new site. So this is just giving the vhost where, you know, this project resides in, and it resides in the www.mynewsite folder. Now we have to select the domain that we want to use for this, and let's keep things consistent. I'm going to name it my new site.local. And just understand, I can name this whatever I want. I don't have to name it my new site. I could name it whatever I want. Okay, we're going to save that. And now we have to open the sudo nano etc host file again. And we have to type in these two new domains. So we go to the next line, 127.0.0.1 tab my new site.local. Doesn't matter what order. 0.0.1 my new site.local. Make sure you get it correct, that it looks exactly like this, or else you're going to get an error. And then again, we're going to hit Control X, click Y for yes, enter, save. So now we just saved it. And then the last thing we do is we restart our Apache. And just wait for that status to change to running. Running, great. So now, guys, if I type this domain into the browser, look what happens. Hello, new world. Just like that, I just created a new project. Now, once you create these projects, this basically acts like your server. You could install WordPress, you could install Laravel. You know, I'm not going to do that today, but that is something, that is a video that I am going to create. But for now, I just hope you grasp what I just did. You know, we created the local environment, we got it working. I hope you're just as excited as I was when I first did this. As always, thank you guys for coming. Please, if you haven't, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next tutorial, guys. Bye.